Breaking news. This is your World War III update, and this is serious. This is how you know they're getting ready to take us to war. The United States Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is further tightening restrictions imposed over the last few months on the Pentagon press corps, announcing Friday that it would now require all reporters to sign a pledge not to gather or use any information that had not been formally authorized for release or risk losing their press credentials at the Pentagon. The freedom of the press is now under threat in arguably one of the most important branches of government, the Pentagon. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, it's reasonable in light of national security concerns, considering all the foreign entanglements we're involved in. However, this also pertains to unclassified information. You're not allowed to gather or use any information. That doesn't make sense. That sounds like they're really trying to control the spin and manufacture consent for what is coming. What's the point in having the press at that point if they can't think independently and report the actual news for what it is? This is continuity of government stuff, guys. This means that they're so concerned about what's about to go down that they want to make sure that they can 100% control the narrative. That should scare the shit out of people. The Department of Defense said in the 17-page memo released Thursday that it remains committed to transparency. Yeah, just like how transparent Hegseth was on that unsecure line of communication there, to promote accountability and public trust, but added that information must be approved for public release by an appropriate authorizing official before it's released. Now, they'll say this is in the name of preventing disinformation and misinformation. However, this attacks the underlying tenets of journalistic integrity and freedom. So you're going to be entering a situation where the American population is getting acclimatized to having paramilitary on the ground with full automatics in their cities, wearing CBRN gear, scooping people up on the streets. Whether you agree to it or not is neither here nor there. The fact that they're doing it right in front of your eyes and getting you used to seeing that, right? They're getting you used to seeing that. So right now it's illegal immigrants. But how do you know when they make the transition that it's not just going to be somebody that they disagree with, somebody who is anti-something, somebody who was birthed from this homegrown terrorism, the Antifa, which was recently outlawed in the United States, okay? Or anti-anything that can be swept up under that very ambiguously defined institution. So this is very, very serious. They're using these stochastic terrorist acts that we see, like the assassination of Charlie Kirk, for the purpose of further militarization, cracking down on dissent, and now they're silencing the press at the Pentagon. Well, let's talk about why they're doing that. For starters, we all know the war with Russia in the Baltics is coming, but get a load of this. Trump was making threats to Venezuela today. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But Iran is now suspending all cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency as a result of the snapback sanctions being imposed a couple days ago. This is huge because just a few days ago, the Iranians said, okay, we're going to cooperate as a gesture of goodwill. We will allow the fox back in the henhouse, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the ones who leaked all of the security details of our facilities, to the Israelis and the Americans so they could attack said facilities. We're going to go over and above. We're going to let you back into the henhouse, even though we know it's probably not a good idea, as a gesture of good faith negotiation. And what did Europe do? Well, they reimposed the snapback mechanism in the JCPOA. So basically now sanctions are going to start again on the Iranians, full-blown on September 27th. This is going to cause a lot of problems for their economy. And so the Iranians have been left with no choice because they did everything they were essentially supposed to do, okay? So if they go into real hard economic austerity, then I guess the thinking is on the part of the West that they can kind of attrit their economy, they can bribe their generals, and they can cause some sort of regime change from within. But the Iranians today said something very, very interesting. And it's not just what they said, it's what they did. Yesterday, I reported that there was a mysterious missile launched from Iran. Well, it turns out that that was actually a test of an intercontinental ballistic missile, one that is claimed to be able to travel 10,000 kilometers plus, okay, according to an Iranian MP, revealed that the footage circulating this week was a successful test of one of Iran's most advanced missiles, adapted from SLV tech into an ICBM platform. Now, you got to ask yourself, a platform like this is worth a lot of money, okay? Even on the shoestring budget of the Iranians, this is a huge investment of resources to make a missile that can launch 10,000 kilometers. The only type of warhead that is economically viable to put on something like that is nuclear. So the only reason why you would make ICBMs is if you had or were planning on potentially having nuclear weapons at some point in time. So what does the President Pezeshkian say just last night? Get a load of this. So he is referring to the snapback mechanism being employed. They convened to snap back sanctions in reference to Europe. Snapback cannot stop us. They can hit Natanz and Fordow nuclear sites, but they are oblivious to the fact that it is our people who build and will continue to build Natanz and things that are far more important than Natanz. Now, there were rumors swirling when the war was winding down that indeed there were other nuclear facilities, deep underground military bases. This was reported on Fox and other major news networks, that the Iranians indeed do have other underground nuclear facilities. And many of us speculated as much, considering they have just dozens of these massive underground missile cities. So why wouldn't you just do something nuclear in one of those? Well, what he's implying here is, and he's talking, of course, they take a lot of pride in the fact that they've been able to achieve nuclear power on their own. That is quite the accomplishment technologically and scientifically for any nation state. They take great pride in that. And they say that they're going to continue to build things that are far more important than the facilities that were targeted by the Israelis, and admitting to doing a 10,000 kilometer capable ICBM test. While you have the USS, I can't remember which one it is, but it's an aircraft carrier that just left the Persian Gulf. It doesn't look good, okay? So the Pentagon knows that the shit's about to go down. They need to control the narrative. They need to manufacture consent. They need to stifle dissent. And they need to have the military in the streets, because when things get out of control, if the economic bubble bursts and you have riots in the streets, if you have civil unrest, and if you have hot wars flaring up all around the world, or worse, they're really just preparing for the big one. They're preparing for nuclear Armageddon, and that's why a lot of these ICE officials, ICE paramilitary guys, why are they wearing military equipment? You got to ask yourself, why are these guys in camouflage? You know, have you ever think about that? Why aren't they just in are they running around the jungle? No, they're going into cities. So why would you wear camouflage, right? It's because they're conditioning you to having the military in the streets scooping people up. And these guys are even wearing CBRN gear for the purpose of, nuclear, dealing with nuclear fallout. So as I've said all along, this whole thing, this massive bureaucratic bloat that's ICE, this $40 billion endeavor, is not going anywhere after the illegal immigrants have all been found and kicked out. Government never relinquishes control. Those guns are going to turn on you. Mark my words. And it's incredible that a lot of the people that I looked to for guidance 20 years ago, when they were still cool, people like Alex Jones, who used to really be somebody who told the truth in a lot of ways. I used to confide in him. And, you know, here you have the ideal situation for him to be critiquing. You got paramilitary in the streets. And there was a video I watched the other day. It had the Empire Strikes Back theme going, and this guy was trolling these National Guardsmen who are just walking around the city, which is your right to do, apparently. You know, I wouldn't say it's a great use of your time to be, you know, antagonizing the National Guard. And some people are approving of it, but others are suspicious. And I'm suspicious because it's got continuity of government and civil defense written all over it. Here's what Trump had to say about Venezuela. It's now come out. There's a Pentagon official recently disclosed that indeed the buildup of military in the Caribbean has nothing to do with narco-terrorists. It has everything to do with regime change in Venezuela, something we've known for a long time. He says, we want Venezuela to immediately accept all of the prisoners and people from mental institutions. This is Donald Trump's tweet, which includes the worst in the world insane asylums that Venezuelan leadership has forced into the United States of America. I'm not sure if all of these people are Venezuelan or if he's saying that they're happening as a result of Venezuela being some intermediary for the drug trade, because most of the drugs don't actually come from Venezuela. Thousands of people have been badly hurt and even killed by these monsters. Get them the hell out of our country right now, or the price you'll pay will be incalculable. Again, you don't muster that kind of naval power for narco-terrorists in little fishing boats. Okay? You're getting ready to go to war. And it has all kinds of implications around the world. So get ready. Keep on prepping. Keep on chopping that wood. Keep on growing that food. Because someday you might be on your own when the lights go out. And when that happens, the city is not going to be a good place to be. You know, I love it out here. I can just go out my back door and any time of day and start shooting guns at targets. It's amazing. And you could do it in Canada. It's a big place. You know, we got a lot of land here and it's cheap. And I'll tell you guys, Saskatchewan and Alberta really are some of the best places to be, because they have one of the most lax kind of regulations. Land is relatively cheap. Yeah, it's cold, but there's workarounds for cold. And actually, the cold season isn't bad because it gives you a break from having to do shit. It really is, you know, you grind from spring until September. But the lack of regulation, the low cost of living, the abundance of cheap land, and there's places you can go where you get topography. It's not all flat. In fact, plenty of places in Alberta, you got foothills, all kinds of lakes, fresh water. I mean, it's great up here. So if you're getting a little bored in the United States and you're looking for a place to lay anchor, come to Alberta or Saskatchewan. These are some of the best provinces that money can buy up here. So yeah, maybe I'll even see you around. But this is the time to get it done, because they're getting ready to do something. Go check out the Canadian Prepper YouTube channel. We're going to release some funner videos this weekend that are hopefully going to be informative. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.